Welcome to Drinking Bros, presented by GhostBed.com.
Yeah, welcome to Drinkin' Bros. Kids, it is always a better day on sets when Tim Kennedy is here. Tim, how are you, bud?
Oh, I'm amazing.
He immediately assaulted Giorgio.
Immediately.
It wasn't assaulted. There was a degree of consent there.
A little bit.
A degree of consent, the Tim Kennedy story.
It was like Christmas Day for Giorgio when you came in today. He was giddy, he was ready, and he was ready to give you his best.
Yeah.
And it took about, 45 seconds for you to choke him out, I think?
Yeah, but he first smashed his head against the concrete floor. And I do want to defend Giorgio that this wasn't me walking through the door being like, hey, let's fight, bro.
I did offer him up.
Yeah.
That's true,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But he wanted it. But he also
I
wanted
didn't
it.
know any of these things. He just said, come in and beat up Giorgio.
Yeah.
All right.
But I imagine this happens to you everywhere you go, where it's like, oh, there's Tim Kennedy. Let's try to fucking tackle him.
Yeah, let's fight him.
Yeah, because your dad is here, and he seemed like unfazed by it all. He was like, oh yeah, this happens all the time.
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
sure
that
he's
guy's
seen
a
this his whole
psychopath.
life.
Yeah,
Is there a camera? Is there a camera on him back there?
you should.
We can put a camera on you.
he's gonna-
There it is. Yeah, that's the psychopath right
Yeah,
there.
This is the man that was like, hey, sons, I know. Okay, I'm putting parentheses here because he actually didn't say these things. And then I'll take the parentheses off when he started. There's a yellow Camaro in this parking garage. I need you to sneak inside, take all the information out of the glove box. And this is when he's a narcotics officer, and he's using his 8 and 10-year-old or 10 and 12-year-old sons as little Smurfs because he couldn't get a warrant, you know?
Technically, a child cannot violate someone's Fourth Amendment rights.
Right. And
Like
we're
if
all
it-
libertarians here, so now I'm like, oh, look at that guy.
Yeah.
Oh, what a jerk. Who would ever do that? My dad. My dad would. That's who.
Did you teach him this? Like, was this like from the womb up, where you were like, hey, dude, I'm gonna make you be the hardest person alive, and you don't have a choice in the matter. How does that work?
His mom.
His mom, really?
His mom, yeah. I mean, if you think any of the stories about me or something, it's all about his mom. Oh, I mean,
She's tough.
Yeah, duct tape to chairs.
She did duct tape me to chairs when I went to do my homework.
Really?
That's his SEER school. That's all that is.
Oh, yeah. No, this is, let's see.
Second grade.
Yeah. So this is 18 years before
SEER
SEER
elementary school.
Yeah, for the next 3 years.
That's amazing. Look, we're here talking about your new school today,
Oh, yeah.
so no duct tape to chairs.
Nope, that's not going to happen.
For kids whatsoever. Introduce your special friend here today.
All right. Well, we have Alexis Dries to my right, to the camera's left. Well, some of the cameras.
Yeah.
Alexis is our head of school at Apogee Cedar Park in North Austin, and she's coming from. I feel like I'm mansplaining right now. So we're
It's fine.
Okay. Well, I'm trying to do like the the hoorah intro, and then I'll like hand it off with a softball pitch so she can knock it out of the park.
Well, here's why I asked for you to introduce her. A lot of people have been talking about your school. There's been a lot of articles written about it. She seems surprising of who would be teaching, where you're like, oh, well, there's going to be Tim Kennedy. It's going to be somebody coming in here with a hatchet.
Yeah, you
and
thought,
something
like-
else. Yeah. And it was like, oh, no, this is a normal lady.
Yeah.
Like the principal is Jim McMahon or something.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we were all expecting, where it was just
Yes.
like, all right, cool. Is this going to be
Scowling.
Thug Rose walking in? Knuckles taped up of like, yeah, bring your kids in here. We're going to have some school. But you seem like a very upstanding lady who's probably taught for many, many years, and we're all a bunch of idiots.
You're not a bunch of idiots. It's very exciting to see you excited about education. Yes, I've been involved over 20 years. I've been with private institutions for about 6. I've done everything from be the perfect, student, well-rounded, to the school dropout, and now, I'm very interested in finding greatness, like helping these young heroes and these young kids find greatness.
Yeah, because again, like I said a couple minutes ago, with Tim, there is a certain expectation of, all right, great, it's a bunch of cavemen who are going to be rolling around. You're going to teach them how to make fire and
we are
everything
gonna
else.
do that.
Yeah.
So like, it's actually kind of planned in this like weekly. We're bringing in from survivalists to CAG sergeant majors to corporate pilots flying for Delta, and so we'll have legit professionals, executives from $100 million companies coming in to talk. But the
Not
balance,
like a business school teacher that's never owned their own business.
yeah, like every
Yeah.
business school teacher, like, oh, I got my MBA. I'm like, yeah, who is your teacher? What did he? Oh no, okay, nice talk. but there has to be, I think, balance in when it comes to these heroes, and being able to. They're so smart, and it's the most horrific thing to see what has happened in regular education, where it's been so diluted and dumbed down because they think the kids are dumb. Our kids are not dumb.
No, and it keeps getting worse. Because I have 2 kids. And so when you guys were going to come in today, I was excited to talk to you about it because everything that's going on, I'm currently involved in with the school boards and everything else. And it is a fucking nightmare. I apologize for cursing, but it is a fucking nightmare out there.
You don't really need to apologize for swearing in front of someone that has to spend time around Tim Kennedy.
I'm not that bad around her.
I was going to say, I haven't heard him swear around her. Yeah.
She has like 6, like a half a fire team. You have 5 sons.
I have 4 sons
4
and
sons
husbands.
and a
five.
husband.
Yeah.
And from 4.
Yeah, 3 up to 10.
Yeah.
You're close. That's good.
And they're all like total little. You can see why she has to run a Socratic school.
Yeah.
And so the energy that she brings, not just from a mom, but from these schools, the commonplace of chaos and anarchy is every day, and being able to direct that in a productive way. And that's where everyone else is failing, and where we know that we can succeed is like, I'm not going to say I'm born of chaos, but like the place that I'm the most comfortable is chaos.
Right.
And arguably there's nothing more chaotic. And man, fighting in war and walking to the UFC, like, there's some chaos there. There's nothing like what she has to do when she walks into some of these schools. And Socratic schools are different. You know, the studios and guides, it's not like a traditional school that hampers and limits what can happen in this learner-driven environment. The students, the heroes in the classrooms, are the one leading what's happening in there. And then you have a guy that's kind of directing how crazy things are going to be. So that person has to be a master of chaos. So I poached her from the largest Socratic school in the nation. And we have a mutual friend, my business partner, Matt Bordeaux. We run an online young men's mentorship program called Apogee Strong. So our school is Apogee Cedar Park. So that was the initial connection, was my friend Matt. And from that point on, I was just like, how can I get you to come to Texas? And here we are.
Was she in California?
She was.
Yes.
There it is. There's the answer. That was easy. Come on down. Oh, you live in California? How'd you like to come to Texas? Great. We'll see you
pretty much
soon.
one phone call. Want to come out here? Yeah, sure. Sounds good.
For the audience, by the way, who might not be familiar with the Socratic school, can you explain that to them? Because
Absolutely.
it is relatively new-ish.
Named after Dave Socrates.
But it's a relatively new version of school.
It is.
And a lot of people are looking for an alternative version of school, especially with everything that's going on, in particular in the last 4 years in this country.
Yep.
Explain what it is to the audience and why it's different than a regular public school.
Right on. So the idea behind Socratic philosophy is that you're answering a question with a question, and it's philosophical thinking versus a correct answer. So you're always asking a question, and then you're receiving another question back, which puts the ownership onto each individual hero.
Well, did you say individual responsibility? Is that what you just said?
Well, there is, yeah.
Yeah, that's success of it.
Well,
This is a new,
I mean, come on, man.
Yeah.
This is something that is completely foreign these days. It's
these days, but
incredible how I honestly don't understand it. I understand the hard times make hard men, who make soft times and make soft men. I get it, man. But there is a level of decline that's happening so rapidly that it's shocking.
yeah.
Like it's seriously shocking to me.
But there's still some hard men that are out here, men and women, gender neutral. And man, when soft times come, I'm like, yeah, opportunities.
Yeah.
That's what I said this.
You guys are all so weak.
I said this 2 years ago. All these Antifa dum-dums clamoring to get rid of police and shit like that. Like, you better pray the police stick around, because if you don't, I'm taking all of your shit.
Yeah.
Like, you guys you're asking for a war that you aren't prepared for.
And imagine running into 2 guys like this out when it's like, what do we do
They're
now?
just like holding hands and skipping down the street. Like,
This is amazing. The best day of my life. I get to wear this guy's face.
yeah.
So like the Socratic education, albeit, is new in proper education, and we call it disruptive now. But I mean, Socrates is from 400 BC, right? So like the idea of Socratic philosophy is not new, and the approach of teaching this way is not new. It's been happening in law schools for the past, since the beginning of law school. Like there is no answer. There's just the next question. And every Ivy League university that has a law program uses this method. But the assumption is that kids are too dumb to do that. Yeah. And that's just not true. What we have is heroes, our students, we call heroes. They are so brilliant, and they're just regular. There's nothing special about them.
Sure.
They just have the onus of having to answer these questions.
Yeah.
And what does it take? What's the process like for getting into one of these schools? Is it like a California where you essentially have to audition your child for private schools? I'm sure you went through that as well.
Yeah. So the application process is online. You fill out the application, you send it in. We have a couple of different steps that you go through because we ask you to really do your own homework.
Right.
Like come in with the knowledge that you understand what this is about.
Well, if the parent doesn't, then you know that kid's probably not going to succeed there.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean,
Let's set you up for success from the very beginning.
All the studies done by California teachers unions, believe it or not, over the last, between I think 2007 and 2012, they studied race, gender, level of income, nationality, all sorts of other shit. The only predictor of success in primary education was parental involvement, basically. And you can glean whatever you want from that, but the reason probably is, one, the kid feels equity in the process.
Absolutely.
Right? Like they feel like if I do this, if I do X, Y is going to happen. Right?
Yeah.
That is the entire point of individual responsibility.
Yeah.
And is there something you two are looking for when these applications come in, where you see an application, you're like, oh man, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
That's a fun way to look at
We
things.
literally have had 1,000 something applications, and she has accepted 30 something of them.
Yeah.
And what are you looking for exactly?
I mean, I'm looking for people who have follow through, who actually follow the directions, who show up on time when they're supposed to show up on time, who put in the effort, and then also have a strong understanding of what this is, and not just, hey, I really want my child to grow up and be a doctor. Like, how do we get them there? It's really like, hey, my kid's a super genius and he's great, and I just want him to learn how to learn.
Isn't it strange that you have to ask for effort from parents anymore? Like when you said that, I was like, because you hear it all the time.
But there's the right kind of effort.
Yeah.
There's also, I mean, she kind of showed her hand a little bit, because what we're looking for is, I don't want my kid is going to be a doctor and this is how you're going to do it. Please show me what their grades are every single week. What I want is buy-in, and there's love and compassion and responsibility and ownership of the process. And it's going to be this collective collaboration within the family unit to really see that individual hero become a successful. Imagine that, right? Like, what's that bomb IED movie where the
Hurt Locker.
Hurt Locker, like the worst military movie in history, where like the lone wolf goes out.
Your EOD guys don't go outside the wire with a pistol?
No.
And
No.
rescue children?
Right, but then we look at Black Hawk Down or Saving Private Ryan, and what we see is that camaraderie, that collective collaboration, where like, you're not going to do this alone. I don't care what's going to happen. I'm going to jump on this grenade with you. Like that, I'm going to beat you to that grenade. You know, there's that kind of spirit, and that's what garners success, no doubt. Right, when we look in the most elite special operations unit, that kind of collective energy is the same thing that we're looking at with an individual home, where like, I want the dad and the mom to be as invested in the child as the child is invested in the process. And she has this masterful way of seeing through the lines of these response emails. Like, you might say all the right words, but I also know who you are as a parent, and you're going to be a pain in my ass. So pass.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
you being a parent, Tim, was there a day where you woke up and just said, I'm tired of the education my kids are getting and I want to create this?
Yeah.
And what was it?
Well, having struggled myself in early, my parents had to bring me and have me be homeschooled, getting paddled and getting in trouble at private schools. I just would have not succeeded. I was not invited back to North County Christian School in Atascadero, California. So if that principal's still out there, look at me now.
Hawaiian shirts.
Yeah. And they're snappy.
On a Tuesday.
I'll make my own school.
Yeah, exactly. I'll make my own school with my own rules. And now you have.
I have grown daughters that are in college, and looking at their peers struggling with adulthood, like not balancing a checkbook or being able to change a tire or knowing how to fill up their car with gas or understanding basic finances, where if you make $1,000 a year, or $1,000 a month, but you spend $1,400, you're now $400 in debt. And as time goes on, that number continues to grow because you have to pay interest on those $400. And then the next month that you're also $400, you're not $800 now. Now you're like $800 plus that 10% of the credit card company. Like some really basic things. And their freshman years in college, they're like, oh, I'm bankrupt. I can't pay for school. I can't pay for my dorm. I can't pay for my books. I can't pay for my gas. And I'm just looking at this like, what happened to these poor young people that are failing at everything? They can't get a job. They're picking a major that is going to be useless. And while the cycle of weak men make hard times, I don't think it's too late for us to like take the Titanic and just turn it a little bit so we don't hit an iceberg. Like I still have faith in the possibility of, and I have hope that we can still like.
Have you read the Coddling of the American Mind?
Yeah.
Good book, right? I mean, the one phrase that sticks out is prepare your children for the road, not the road for your children. We have done the latter half for the last 25 years or so.
Yeah.
Like we've tried to ease the tension of what it means to be alive and make decisions and have responsibility. That's fucking stupid. None of those things are going away, ever.
Yeah.
They're getting worse.
No,
Well,
day.
the funny part is they get worse as you take less responsibility for them. So it is a compounding factor, just like the debt thing. And it just gets worse and worse. And this next generation, we had Troxel, the former SEAC, on the show, 2-3 weeks ago? And we were just wondering aloud, whatever the next big war is, who is going to fight that motherfucker? Because it's probably going to have to be us again.
Yeah, I'm down.
I mean, I'm down, but that's not really how it's
Keep
supposed to be.
those knees fresh and lubed.
You just had ACL surgery.
Yeah,
You're like, I'm ready to hop back
I
out
got a
there.
PT test coming in November, and I'm like 5 months out from ACL surgery, and I was like, hey, doc, and I got to jump tomorrow. I'm doing some free fall stuff tomorrow. And I was like, hey, am I good for this? He's like, no, absolutely not. I'm like, okay.
Just keep your feet and knees together. You'll be fine.
I have to do it. So how do we get around this? To that point, though, when you like preparing them for the road, there's from the Acton schools, we're learning to be and learning to do, and not learning to know.
Right.
And that's a fair distinction that is, I think, really significant. But when you're preparing a young mind to do a test, or preparing the test for that young mind, we have a problem. Like, we should just be preparing them to succeed. And that's what the coolest thing about this process. Talk about some of the...
You're referencing like the standardized testing, right?
What trash?
Trash. It's completely absurd, and it's worse in low income areas.
Yeah.
Because they only teach to the test because they lose funding if they don't meet certain requirements.
And some kids are great at those. Some kids aren't.
Right.
I was very smart. I graduated with honors, but I was terrible at the tests. I was terrible at the SATs. I was terrible at the ACTs. If you were to judge me just based on those tests, I'd be a fucking dum-dum.
Exactly.
But luckily, there's more. And with your school, what are you guys doing to improve upon that and make it less about standardized tests?
So think about it this way, right? So traditional education.
I'm so glad you're here, by the way.
Thank you. It's very exciting to be here.
Answer these questions, because I'm like, all
Yeah,
right.
if you think about traditional education, they say, here's what you're going to learn, and then you're going to learn it for this amount of time, and then when you're finished, we're going to see how much you learned. Versus, hey, here's a book. Want to learn?
Right.
I mean, think about how much you're willing to try when someone's not standing over going, ugh, almost.
Yeah.
Yeah. Really close, but you didn't quite get it. You know, there was somebody said the other day, well, when you got 80% on that test, like, what about the other 20%? It just went away. No one ever took the other 20% and said, ooh, you know what? You didn't understand that, so let's grow on this piece. So, I mean,
But if you set out to learn something on your own, you would never do it that way.
You would never do it that way.
You would learn like your brain knows this. Your brain understands naturally what recall is. For those of you who don't know in education, recall is you spend X amount of time studying something, then you need about a 30-minute break for it to latch onto your fucking brain, for lack of a better phrase. Your brain understands this. It has these rhythms naturally that do these things. And if you just decided to go get Babbel, which is a sponsor of ours, and learn a language.
Yeah.
The reason they set it up in 50-minute increments is specifically for that. So you as the individual can determine how you're going to fucking learn that material.
And the material that you're learning is actually useful in the world.
Yeah. The smartest people on the planet developed this way not because they're the smartest people on the planet, because they were like, oh, this is just how it works.
This is just how the brain works.
It was a discovery. It wasn't an invention. That's a very different fucking thing.
Yeah.
And the reward when you are able to accomplish or do something or learn something, what's the when something hands somebody something to you for free?
That's dopamine. Yeah. I mean, when you work for yourself, it's serotonin. Right?
Yeah, and it's so long lasting,
much better.
And it lasts, and that not only is the sensation of like if I go and dig a hole compared to paying somebody go and do it, and I look at that hole, I'm like, okay, I have a hole, compared to the after product of I put effort and sweat into this, and now I have a hole.
There's actually a name for this. It's called the Ikea Effect, right? So I'm not kidding.
Dead serious.
This is a legit psychological phenomenon. When you give somebody something that, even if it's 80 or 90% complete and they finish the last 10 to 20%, they are more likely, one, to enjoy that product and to buy it again because they put some of their own effort into it. This is basic human psychology.
And they take care of the product longer.
Yeah.
Because when you put it together, then you're like, all right, well, I don't want this fucked up because I put it together.
So what we've done with our country is give everybody everything for free without having them invest anything at all. And then the expectation comes that they continue to get it for free and don't have to invest. And now we're in that fucking decline.
So we should do that with our children for sure. Like we should just give them everything really easy and give them a sense of entitlement. I mean, if we're gonna do it with really crappy furniture that you buy for like $99 and you're gonna love that more than your child, maybe we have a problem.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Throw this out there.
How many grades are there in your school? Are you guys in elementary schools? It's K through 12?
Well, we'll start out with pre-K, TK age, all the way up to 5th grade elementary school.
Got it.
And then we'll launch a middle school, and then we'll launch, a high school.
Are you trying to start
start
it that way so you can see the middle and high schools with the younger students?
It's designed that way so that here's the thing about a Socratic school or a school where the heroes have ownership and responsibility for everything that happens in that space. Those leaders, those oldest heroes become the leaders, and they have the responsibility, and they help their peers learn and grow and be accountable and have personal responsibility.
And as they graduate, they pass it down to the other kids.
Exactly.
That's great.
So they
But it
onboard the other
codifies
heroes.
the knowledge. Like this is, we know this to be absolutely
Train
true.
the trainer. Teaching something
Exactly.
after you learn
Yeah.
it makes you learn it so much better.
And the combatives guy that like he goes to level 1 and he's like, all right, I can fight a little bit, but then he goes and he has to teach at level 2, and then he's like, oh, I really know this curriculum now. And,
because you know why it is what it is.
Exactly.
That's the difference. Knowing why it exists, or that is how you ultimately learn how to communicate things to other people.
But this is happening at the hero level. Like this, there's not a teacher in there being like, okay, this is what's happening. That is happening internally. It is a learner-driven environment. So the chemistry and the balance within each of those respective studios has to be precise. And that's kind of the brilliance about the guides is they have to know the topics and the teaching methods and the way that each of these individual heroes learn to such like a nuanced, subtle level that they can know which questions to ask, and they know how to guide them and put the curbs and the bumpers as the balls are rolling down the alley to keep it in line to get those strikes. And so it's a way harder, more complex. I mean, it's
natural though. Every group, whether you identify them as such or not, has a leader.
Yeah.
In a leadership structure, it forms naturally. If you put more than one person in a room together, somebody's going to end up being the leader of that fucking that fire team or whatever you want to call it, right?
Yeah.
It just happens. So why not make it a thing that you're doing on purpose?
Right.
You know what I mean?
yeah. And
Why
do it
not
by
make-
design
Like
strategically.
formalize it at some point. So then you can observe how it works and then make improvements on it, or maybe see that you don't need to make improvements. It just does it on its own. I mean, who knows, right?
Yeah, and having kids at that age of your school, they are smart enough and they can take on that type of responsibility.
For sure,
I think that's a misconception that it's like, oh no, they're only
way
kindergartners
smarter.
or they're a lot smarter than we think they are, but they're only going to be pushed to do things if there is somebody willing to say, hey, look, you made a mistake and we're going to do this, and we're going to correct it, and we're going to move on from that, instead of, hands off, and I've got a call. There's the calls we get. It's the only reason, by the way, I'm going to hold this up to camera. Only reason I have this fucking phone next to my desk all day long is in case a teacher calls, because it's the tiniest things. Like, oh, he hit his head on a door. Great. Is he bleeding? Does he have a bruise? No. We just want you to know, and if you want to come get him, you can.
That could have been a text, lady.
Yes.
First of all,
call me
did
for
you
that.
ask the child?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So like that's the first question that ever happens in here. Parents are going to come to Alexis and be like, hey, I got a problem with this. I'm like, oh, okay. Did you talk to your child about this? And they're like, I mean, yeah, but what they said is like, okay, well, did you talk to that child's studio? And I mean, it all happens, the problem solving has to happen internally. And the end result, the product of this is this beautiful, refined, independent leader in every single one of them. So the graduates from these, and it's now old enough, the Socratic Actons, where we have entrepreneurs. I'm talking like an 18-year-old that is now running a multi-million-dollar business. And like, God dang it. Yeah. Cool. You've just been doing this since you're 6.
Yeah.
So this is easy for you. You know, like things that were like really hard as an entrepreneur and be like, wait, I have to make a profit and loss state. What is this?
Yeah. What's a P&L?
Yeah.
What's a P&L at the end of the day?
I don't understand the difference between revenue, equity, and profit.
Yeah.
Oh, they're not the same thing.
So when you start doing that when you're 5 and 6 years old, you know, it's just a compounded learning environment where you had your lemonade stand and now you're, you know, producing lemonade and now you're trademarking your, you know, lemonade label. I mean, it's all of that is happening before they ever get to.
These Socratic schools are a lot more than just producing good business people, though,
Absolutely.
right? It's about producing good people generally.
Well, it's just about the idea of entrepreneurship.
Right.
Yeah.
The idea that you can be an entrepreneur instead of saying, well, you better get a, you know, a
So the
good
thing about
grade
this
on that.
small business, and I think why a lot of institutions like the government hate small business is because it puts such an emphasis on that individual to be successful, and I don't need anything from anybody else because the onus is on me to succeed. And that idea of success and failure is on my shoulders. Me being able to feed my family is like nobody's going to feed my family for me. They're not going to provide medical equipment or medical supplies or insurance. Like I have to do everything. And that same kind of pride in their own success happens at 6.
Yeah.
They're capable of it. We're just not allowing them to do it everywhere else.
No, and Dan and I have talked about this numerous times over the last year. We're now in a creator economy where it isn't really necessary to go to college. If you have these skills to start a business, be an entrepreneur, learn a P&L sheet and everything growing up, because the way everything is going with YouTube and everything else,
Exactly.
there's a lot of money out there to be made. It's not necessarily in college in the traditional learning anymore.
You can go right now as an 18-year-old, provided you qualify academically and take out a $250,000 loan for the next 4 years and spend the rest of your goddamn life paying for it. But you can't get a $20,000 business loan to start a business at 18.
Yeah. No, and that's
That is
done.
a big problem.
And Wells Fargo, by the way, just shut down any business loans, so they're out on that altogether.
Well, I mean, it's about this. When she says it's the entrepreneurship is standing for something. Liberty, individual determinism, personal entrepreneurship is the ultimate inoculation to tyrannical bullshit. The more power these assholes have, the more they can flex it on you. And if you take that power away, they only have power because we allow it.
Right.
That's it. They don't have the guns.
Yeah.
They don't have the strength or even the knowledge to use the goddamn things. All they have is influence because we need what they have, which is large amounts of capital or regulatory environments or whatever it is. They preside over that, but only because we allow them to.
Yeah.
We've forgotten about that, apparently.
We have, and also these new ways of thinking are often challenged by the government and the community and everything else. Can you guys chat about the difficulties of starting a school? Because behind the scenes, going through the government regulations and everything else, especially with children, is brutal, I heard. I can't believe you actually got it going because there's so much red tape.
We're still fighting.
Well, we are still fighting.
I can imagine.
We're like 5 weeks out, and from COVID restrictions to vaccinations to certificates of occupancy from the city to, their fingers are so deeply strangling small business. It's not even a school, just small business. It's so hard for anybody to succeed because at every point you're having to pay somebody else to allow you to run your business. Right. Yeah. And then which first of all is asinine. And then when you get into, we can educate better than you can, then it's like, wait a second.
Yeah.
Now I really want to look at everything that you're doing. And, from fire code, which I get, life, like fire and safety, it's going to be perfect.
Sure.
Everything's going to be new and everything's going to be the code. But the scrutiny is so disingenuous because it's not coming from a position of wanting to protect the children. It's coming from one, money, and then two, control.
Leveraging control. That's all it is.
Yeah.
It's fired up, Ross.
Hey, that's what we're here for today. That's what we're here for today. Because look, once the school board gets involved too, they're worried about funding being pulled from them.
They're going to lose it.
I'm sure you've dealt with that during this
in
process.
the past, and that's why I'm in private education now.
So with private education, where does the money come from? Did you guys get a bunch of donors?
We just in the past week allowed scholarships for students, and it's private school. We are organized as a private company for the one reason of limiting scrutiny from government people.
Right.
From a private school care or to a private school to early child care, all of those things are choices to limit the scrutiny from. I'm using the word scrutiny kindly.
It's a nice euphemism.
Yeah.
We don't want anybody in there that doesn't have the center of gravity for everything that we're going to be doing is the heroes.
Exactly.
And anything else is secondary. And if
there's a lot of profiteers in the education industry.
Yes.
Both
control and profit.
Financial and social profiteers. Obviously, I mean, the stories came out yesterday. I can't remember which district it was, but a school district was teaching like kind of light critical race theory, but then telling the kids not to tell their parents when they got home what they were talking about in class and shit like that. Like, all right, cool. If you're telling a child not to repeat what you've done with them to their parents, that seems like a bit of a problem.
So we have a live stream in every studio.
Really?
Yeah.
That is online?
So it's like a really
for the parents.
You looked at me shocked. I was like, yo, so I could just watch my kids online learning?
Yeah, you can have an access code and watch them.
Oh, that's awesome.
So that's like the dog boarding place that I send my dogs to.
Yeah.
Exactly. You do it for your dog, you should be able to do it for
You should be able to do it for your kids. No, I agree, because what are you hiding in the classroom? So that way you could pop on any part of the day and see what's going on.
And if one of the Kennedy kids decides to ball somebody up, you could be like, look, you should have slipped right here a little bit.
You can let's watch the footage again.
Doing an after action review on the kids. Have the parents sign a release where we can go afterwards and insert commentary over the fights that happen.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to get that.
That'd be great, though. Baby UFC.
There's not going to be fighting in our
Russia
studio.
already did.
Pay-per-view.
Are there?
Baby
No,
UFC.
in the auditorium.
Okay.
On the gym mat, but not in the studios, no.
Dan, since you brought up critical race theory, Tim, I got to ask you your thoughts on it, because this is a hot button topic in the school system that we just came from in Wilmington, North Carolina. There was literal fights last week. One parent got arrested. Another one, it was punches thrown. It's getting brutal. What are your thoughts on teaching critical race theory in today's school system?
So I know that the heroes that are going to be at our school are going to be smart enough to understand the context of why something's written, who wrote it, and the significance of it in a historical event. So whether we're reading Huckleberry Finn or To Kill a Mockingbird, that was
the ones that have been banned.
Yeah, well, I'm just using those as example.
Sure,
but
weird example, you know.
The context of when and why they were written are significant, and they're smart enough to understand the nuance of the era of why something, like, were there slaves with the founding fathers? Yeah, and that's okay for us to talk about. Let's talk about what was happening economically. Was it right? No. But was it common? Yes. Let's understand why. Let's have a conversation about it. So critical race theory, like, I've read Mein Kampf. You know, I've read the Quran. I don't know, a dozen times. Like, am I a Muslim? No. Am I a fascist? No. But do I think it's important for me to understand as much as I can about opposing views to maybe even codify and solidify my own views? Perhaps.
Well, especially with something that's that large, because that person or that ideology was able to convince a lot of people, which will give you can glean a lot about human psychology there, because maybe it's they're preying on fear, or maybe it's the carrot, whatever it is, and you can find out why and how to motivate people.
I want to
that's
understand
an important thing. That's an important thing to understand, is how to motivate people, because look, not everybody is a fucking leader. Some people need to be led, and if we're not making a concerted effort to produce leaders who can think with nuance, then we're fucked, because leaders who don't have nuance become dictators at some point. Yeah. That's how that works.
Nuance is not dead. I actually just tweeted and talked about that this week. So specific to critical race theory, I like history a lot. And I like history the way happened. I don't want any editorialized or curated portion of history. I just give me the history,
right,
and I'll figure it out. So that's one of my reservations about critical race theory. Is it's not history. It's just
someone else's version.
It's
of
an
history.
op-ed of what you think about history.
Well, I mean, they're doing to history what the mainstream media has done to news.
Yeah.
Like they believe that their opinion of the facts are the facts themselves, and that's not the case, obviously.
Yeah. So,
I mean, that's the problem right there. Coming in and saying, here's what you should know.
Yeah.
Yeah, there isn't that. And that's
from my point of view. You know, not history,
Right.
but here's from my point of view, and then we're going to pass that on. Because look, we're in the same camp on this one.
Yeah.
I think it's crazy to me, where it's like, yes, if you can't crack open a book about the Civil War and have kids understand why it was right and wrong and what you were fighting for during the time, chances are there's other things going on that are wrong with you, and it's like I don't need someone else on top of it to say, well, then here's what happened after that, and why.
There's lessons to be learned from mistakes. That's a smart man learns from his own mistakes. A wise man learns from the mistakes of others. Right?
Yeah.
That is that's a 3,000 or so year old maxim, right? So that's something we should probably hang on to if it's existed that long. It seems like it's useful.
Yeah.
Like Thomas Jefferson, for example, is a good example. Wrote the Declaration of Independence. Right, he wrote it. Ben Franklin and John Adams helped to edit it down afterwards, but he wrote the thing. And in it, he talked about slavery being, his original version, slavery being an abomination, even though he was having sex with one of his slaves and producing children with her, right? The fact that he believed in individual liberty above all else on earth, that was the religion of Thomas Jefferson for sure. He believed in that above all else, but still was able to do this evil thing at the same time because, according to his own words, it's going to take some time, a few generations, to get rid of this shit. Now that we've actually established a government that supports getting rid of it, it's going to take several generations to do it. That is a lesson that children can learn today about politics. We can't get everything done in a 4-year term. We can't get it done in 20 years sometimes.
Yeah.
Things take time, and the fact that we have this peaceful transfer of power every 4 years is unique, right? In a situation with this many people. We're governing 350 million people now. So learning that nuance and that it takes time to do things builds investment and equity into the process itself. And people feel like, oh, okay, just because this doesn't happen today doesn't mean that my vote doesn't count anymore.
yeah.
You know what I mean? That is just one example of how studying that shit as it happened could teach you how to think like a normal fucking human being.
Right. But everybody wants their version right now in your face, and they're willing to fight for it literally at school boards and meetings across the country right now.
I've been loving watching the school board fight. I've been waiting for this, and I knew it was coming.
It's like watching British Parliament.
Yeah. when I had almost lost faith that we had a chance until I started on this journey of opening the school and meeting parents that Alexis is bringing into the school and meeting the families and meeting these other guides. We have the most brilliant guides on the planet. And I wasn't hopeless, but I was like, man, this is going to be a fight. And it has been a fight. But then now, once I got into this world and I started seeing this rampant passion of millions of parents that are going to these school boards and be like, we're going to fucking fight over this.
Yeah.
Like, there's not a chance. You either quit right now and walk out that goddamn door, or we're going to stay here until you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, where were you 10 years ago? Because you've let them get this far, and it was an incremental degradation of the school system for them to get that much control to be able to do what they're doing now. But now we're like awake. Like, I'll use the word woke. The parents are finally woke.
Yeah.
And they're like, not going to happen.
Yeah.
We're still in fights in Austin, which is why we have to have our own private school that's organized the way that we are.
Yeah, are you guys dealing with the city and everything else that's going on? Because right now they're supposed to be in stage 4, it says.
Well, that's a recommendation, I believe, right?
Well, look, some businesses are still wearing masks. I took my kid to a camp for like a week-long camp. It was a huge toy store next door. I've never been to that place in Austin. Yeah, it was right there, and every day after school I had to take him there. But as soon as you walk in, sir, mask, and I was like, we're well past that now, aren't we? And they're like, no, it's up to the individual businesses and everything else.
And I'm all for that.
Yeah, that's technically true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
But with schools, like that's starting to become a debate now too of with the Delta variants and the Lambda Chi, Lambda, whatever is happening out there in the Greek alphabet.
Trilam, yeah.
Yeah, they're trying.
That's Return of the Revenge of the Nerds.
Revenge of the Nerds.
Triland? Yeah.
Still the same story today.
Yeah.
But do you really want to wear masks in schools and everything else? And I'm sure you're hearing that as well.
Yeah, I have the best job in the world right now. I get parents that come and say, I want the best for my hero. What are you guys doing? How can I be a part of it? And I tell them the same thing all the time. Personal responsibility. It's fine. You can choose what you want to choose. We support you 100%, but we're not here to tell you how to take care of your own body. That's for you
or
to
your
decide.
child.
Or
you
your
want the
child.
school to tell you, the parent, what
Exactly.
you, the parent, should be doing for you, the child.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. First of all, you can't come to our school.
You
Second.
want a government that built the food pyramid whose base is
Exactly.
useless grains, like they're fattening us up for the slaughter. Yeah, I'm all set, guy.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Number 2.
Yeah, because gosh, man, I could go on about this forever. You look at everything that's happening in the school system. To me, it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse.
It does. It's a really great example of what happens when you take out cultural relevance and don't trust that young children can have conversations about their feelings and ideas, right? The pandemic, COVID, masks or no masks, all of critical race theory, that's all going to make its way into our school in conversations brought in by the students themselves who say, here's what I'm hearing. What do we all think? What do I think about this? And then being able to discuss their ideas back and forth and have like an informed discussion, right? And be able to agree to disagree. Whereas,
Wait, that's not allowed?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Learning conflict resolution at the earliest possible age.
Exactly.
Like with dodgeball, for example.
Yeah.
Well, not just conflict resolution. Sometimes there is not resolution. Sometimes you will have differing opinions.
Right.
And that, in the ever divided country that we're in, I just had this conversation over Black Rifle Coffee where people were like, no, there is no middle ground. You can't talk to these people. And I was like, no, man. You're the one that I can't talk to.
Yeah.
We're on the same side, and you're the one that is so hopeless. You're the one that is so far gone that you don't think that I can have a conversation with a fellow American citizen and have a differing opinion. You're the one that's messed up, not them. And even though they're wrong and I don't appreciate anything that they, like any of their beliefs I totally disagree with, but I can still talk to them.
Yeah.
And there's middle ground that can be had there. And and we can do that at 6.
Yep.
They can do that.
That's a very valuable education, right? To learn how to have a discussion with other people who don't have the same point of view as you do.
Absolutely.
And that's okay.
Yeah, because
and then in 5 seconds later, they're like, hey, want to go play dodgeball? Yep.
Yeah.
I mean,
They're very good
We
at
got
it
some
naturally.
rad play plans.
Yeah, and we'll get to that in a second. But one of the biggest interactions a kid can have is socially at school and learning how to communicate with others to be a better human, so they're not just shut-ins or neckbeards, as Dan likes to call them later on in life. And that's
what they are.
That's
a good name.
Yeah, it's
is,
a great thing.
It's because they lean back in their chairs like this, and gravity just pulls the hair down here.
Well, there's no mirrors in Grandma's basement, so
No.
they don't know how to
The
trim it up.
The other part of that is there is a perspective and an appreciation for things in life and whatever else that only comes through sacrifice of some sort. I've never found a way in all of my years.
Let's get a high five here.
In all of my years, I've never found a way to communicate what it feels like to somebody who's never experienced it. So these like skinny white dum-dums in the Pacific Northwest that think that they're under a fascist regime somehow. Like, I can take you to go see fascism if you'd like.
Yeah.
And then you can make up your mind. But
Taliban did a pretty good job yesterday
Yeah.
of demonstrating what
Oh,
that
yeah.
looks like when they killed more citizens in one day than Afghan history.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah,
I know what it looks like.
Yeah.
We certainly do. And so how do you communicate that to a kid? You can't obviously put them in dangerous situations, but what you can do is, this is my idea. I think this should be universal, but I don't know that I would want the government being involved in it necessarily because of how they tend to leverage things. But beyond that certain age, from 6 years old or whenever it is on, to graduate to the next grade, you need to fucking perform some kind of act of service for your community or some community every single year, all the way through college. If I forget about learning a second language, right? If you need one, then fucking learn one for sure. But why is that mandatory? You know what I mean? I would rather have a good person who speaks one language than some shitbag who speaks 5.
I don't think they're mutually exclusive.
Certainly not. Certainly
I
not.
want really good kids that will speak 5 languages.
Well, that's because you're a special forces guy.
Yeah,
You're
Tim,
indoctrinated.
Well,
you're
speaking
a
of
better
like,
human.
your sponsor is who?
Which
The
numerous.
Babbel.
Oh, Babbel, yes.
Babbel,
Yeah.
Can I get a code?
Bebo- yes.
So I just left my broadening assignment on the Special Forces side, and I have to go back to the teams, and I have to take the D Lab again for the first time.
You have to take.
Oh,
D-Lab.
yeah.
Oh yeah,
I don't know.
I'm back in, man. So hey, can I get a code? Yeah.
Babbel.com, Babbel.com, promo code Drinkin Bros.
Yeah.
3 months free. So you get 6 months for the price of 3.
Okay,
There you
so
go.
my D Lab's in November, so
You got plenty of time.
Piazzi.
You got
Here we
plenty
go.
of time.
3 coming my way.
What are some of the non-traditional things that you guys will be teaching at school? Because a lot of the people in the message boards are like, is it going to be a mat in the middle of the hallway? Is there going to be fights? Aren't you like, what are some of the cool non-traditional things that you have planned for kids that might not be part of the curriculum at an elementary school that's, let's say, in the rest of the state of Texas?
Yeah, that's a great question because, we talk a lot about like that learner-driven idea, right? So they're learning math, they're learning reading, writing, all at their own pace in different ways. Every session, we have a quest. A quest is a different theme, a different hands-on project that we do 7 times out of the year. So those will be anything from like, life skills to we had a survivor quest. We've had an electricity quest. Those are where we get the hands-on science, social studies, things that we bring in experts on. So if you want to learn how to, light up a city, that was part of our electricity quest. We taught,
Like how an energy grid works, basically.
how an energy grid works.
Yeah, wait, not the Texas Energy.
Yeah, ERCOT. Not ERCOT, right?
Here's how a good one works.
The survival stuff is like, how many children now do you think know how to use a map and a protractor?
0.
Okay, 0.
Zero.
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 So I'm gonna have like Delta Force squadron commanders walking in, and Matt Smith, Sergeant Major, coming from Special Forces that's been training young men his whole entire adult life on Fridays.
Yeah.
Right? Like Alexis is gonna be like, Tim, so this is who I want. I'm like, yes, ma'am. And then in comes the most remarkable man of our generation to teach these heroes how to insert the raddest thing.
Right.
And
Yeah.
that'll be part of the quest.
Now,
And it should be, by the way, and I hate to interrupt you,
go ahead.
Dan.
Mine was going to be silly, and it's going to come anyway. So go ahead.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
he's gonna
But
hold on, so.
look, when I was at NYU, for example, in film school, they used to bring in famous actors every Friday or directors, and it was 20 kids in a class, and you get to sit there and talk to Matt Damon for 3 hours and be like, all right, great. What's really happens in the industry, what really happens on movie shoots and everything else. I learned more on that one session,
Exactly.
on that 1 week than I learned than any other class throughout the week, because I was actually talking to people who were successful, who had gone through it, and they could give me actual life knowledge
I mean, is there
that I
more-
could apply to my career versus a book or some movie or something. I'm like,
Is there a more
man.
useless position than a business school teacher?
Well, I mean, I know what they failed at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Business.
job.
Business,
Yeah.
yeah.
Because they're doing that.
If they were there, yeah. Because a lot of the teachers at NYU were successful agents, screenwriters, things, and they were
Yeah, yeah.
retired, just coming back to be like, all right, here's how it really is. And they were assholes. And like kids were crying on the first day, and this was grad school, for Christ's sakes. I'm like, it was awesome.
Yeah.
And I imagine it will be very similar, but you're also getting life lessons from people who've actually done it,
Exactly.
done the shit, not just taught about it. They've actually done it. And that's exciting.
It is really exciting. It's fun to see an entrepreneur who can talk about their own hero's journey. And then that's that service that we talk about, right? Like coming back in and teaching others. So it's not just, it doesn't stop like, oh, you figured that out, way to go. How do you share that? How do you give back? You know? And so that's been a really amazing thing to be able to have these heroes be exposed to somebody who has a successful business or, somebody who graduated from Acton and came back and said, here's how you can be a really great Acton hero. I mean, it's that small or it's that large. And I think that's really, people ask me all the time, why would you go start a school with Tim Kennedy? They'll look they'll look him up on Wikipedia or something and be like, wow, that guy, seriously?
Yeah. But that's the
And,
cool thing. Like, I
but
mean, look,
that's
podcasts,
exactly
for
it.
example, because of Tim, what he's done in his career and his life, he's got
Exactly.
contacts to reach out to people that's like, all right, great. You want to learn about podcasting? Today's guest is Joe Rogan. And it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm sure people have called left and right to come out and volunteer to speak to the school.
I've worked at several schools. I've been doing this a long time. The outreach and the outpouring, because of the large amount of followers that Tim has, how we're able to spread the news about this school. People that have been in education a really long time, who are just outstanding humans, who say we just want to come back and we just want to be a part of it.
Yeah.
Like, we love what you're doing. This is super exciting.
So we announced that we're going to have a private library, and that we're going to have. So I don't want just Austin rich kids coming to our private school.
Sure.
The value of having people from different races and different cultures and different socioeconomic backgrounds, and obviously families that are living in North Austin that are working at Fort Hood, for example. The dad's gone 12 months every 3 years. Like that young hero has a different life than everyone else in that school. And there's huge intrinsic value of having that diversity in the classroom. So the scholarship was, okay, how do we subsidize getting these other families in here, because it's value added for everyone. Yes, the ones that can afford to be there, they are amazing families and they deserve to be there, but so do all of these other families. So the scholarship, and then with the private library, I was like, I want all the books, like the books that, maybe you can't buy on Amazon anymore.
Yeah.
Like that Dr. Seuss wrote. I like those books still. And I understand when they were written, and I understand who Dr. Seuss was. Do you know that he wrote propaganda for what was psychological affairs in World War II?
Yeah.
And they're like, we have to
he was writing for the OSS, basically.
Was he a real doctor?
The CIA. He was writing for what is now the CIA, the military OSS. He was writing books and pamphlets to fight fascism and racism and to bring the American spirit and freedom across the Atlantic. And we're gonna take his books off Target.
And somehow his books are taken off Target, but Walt goddamn Disney is the biggest company in the world right now.
Yeah.
Right? A guy who is severely anti-Semitic. And spent a lot of his own money to that effect. He was a member of the fucking American National Socialist organizations.
Yeah. But they're really trying to balance all of his wrongs with maybe going a little bit too far the other way now.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Come on,
you think?
Disney.
You
Come
think?
on, Disney. Bring it back a little bit.
Exactly. Grab another topo for Tim here. After wrestling to start the show for 15 minutes, he's a little dehydrated, a little thirsty.
By the way, my question from earlier that was going to be silly is, let's say one Friday you happen to have a relatively local person come in, somebody like Jared Taylor. What would he be teaching to the children?
How to eat hot dogs. No,
He's pretty good at it.
I mean, can I get his MIG?
Yes.
Did he buy that? Is that did we confirm that? Yeah, he went halvesies on a MiG with somebody, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He sent me that picture. He's like, hey, check this out. I was like, what is that? He's like, it's a MiG. I'm like, can I fly on that? He's like, yeah. Are you don't tease me here?
He's a couple of weeks out from having his solo license.
Yeah.
So then you guys can go do, I don't know, a sortie or something.
That's next level, because I know you have a helicopter, right?
No, my best friend has helicopters.
Your best friend, yes.
I just use his.
Got it. This is a step above.
Oh yeah.
If you want to have your own MiG,
this is more of a leap. I feel kind of I fly at Rotary Wing, Robinsons.
Yeah, and
22s.
if people are wondering if Black Rifle's doing all right, when you have your own MiG, you're fine.
You're doing great.
To be honest, Jared would probably get rid of one of his kids for a MiG, though. He's weird about planes.
Yes. Loves planes.
That might be the thing he's the most into in the world.
I would love. But he is to the core. If you take out Air Force Special Operations stuff, he is who we want, because he's a creative. Period. Insert whatever modality he is a creator in, whether it's music, whether it's art, whether it's videography, whether it's a movie. That was fun, right?
Yeah.
All he is a creator of insert something fun, and that right brain funness that exists in there. I would be in there for that little chat.
But he's also a people finder. He's the one that put all of us together. I mean, from all different backgrounds and all that stuff.
That skill set has always been valuable, and I don't think it's ever been more valuable than it is today.
Yeah.
We're fighting back corporatism now. We're fighting during the pandemic when 600,000 American small businesses went away forever. Amazon got way bigger, right? Google got way bigger.
But we put a penis rocket in the air.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jeff Bezos.
I'm not sure
really
exactly
nice penis rocket, though.
I'm not sure exactly where people think that's going, but I can tell you where it's going. It's going into a direction where that Tim Wu talked. I haven't mentioned Tim Wu on the show in a while, so I guess
there you go.
Should do that. The master switch. It's going in the direction that he predicts, which is every time any kind of new technology or economic modality appears, the government tries to weaponize it against the people. Always, throughout all of human history, that's happened. Whether it's the internet or the fucking railroads or anything else, like the press in general here in America. And it only goes in one direction. It goes in a direction where politicians have power and the people who have money keep them in power. And they fight against the people. That's every dystopian novel you've ever read is because that is how the fucking system works.
Right.
They weren't fucking entertainment. They were warnings. And we were like, oh, that's fucking cool. Let's make a movie about it.
No. Now it's just the 3 richest guys going to space, and then now they want to compete. I don't know if you read today's article. Bezos wants to compete for the moon, and he's willing to give NASA billions of dollars if they don't make it and everything else. And he's betting on it, and he's betting other entrepreneurs on it. So
I think space travel is important, and having rich people pay for it is better than you and I having to pay for it.
I love one of my favorite memes coming from Bezos and was it Richard Branson?
Yeah.
That aircraft's gorgeous. Whoever designed that, like, I want to.
The Virgin Atlantic or whatever.
They've always had the best aircraft.
I don't know where
so stunning.
Bezos.
Their outfits were.
How does Bezos not know? Maybe it's an inside joke or something.
I think he knew.
He just flew a dick rocket.
Yeah.
What the hell is
He's
going
like
on?
a clunky, not even well proportioned penis rocket.
Yeah, it was very bizarre.
Yeah.
I read the explanation behind it. He said the circular,
Nah.
the head on the top was for visuals. So that
What
way
about
when
the
you
shaft? What was that for?
now the shaft, that's more for pleasure. The top, no, but apparently it's some outlook or whatever they're able to see in space. Come on, man.
Yeah.
If you're standing back from the launch pad, you know that's a goddamn dick rocket.
Yeah, use cameras, bro.
Yeah.
Yes.
But like all the kids were like, oh, great, another rich guy spending billions. They could have given that money to us. And then you just see a picture of the Wright brothers, like just a couple of rich guys trying to do aviation
Yep.
stuff.
First in flight.
Yeah. Then we beat the commies to the moon.
There we are.
Come on.
Come on.
America.
Tim, we'd be remiss on this show if we don't ask you about a little bit of MMA.
Okay.
A little bit of bare knuckle boxing.
Oh, yeah.
We just called the events live on Friday night for Paige Van Sants with Chuck Liddell, who's a friend of yours.
Yeah.
We asked Chuck live on air if he would get back in the ring
Yep.
for a certain dollar amount. Now, he did say yes. He goes, that dollar amount does exist out there. However, it's not been offered yet.
Yep.
What about you?
Could you imagine him in a bare knuckle fight?
Or you? Like, what's to stop you
Look at
from
my
doing
hand.
that?
Look at my hand.
There, you've got big
Mitts. Mitts, dude. Yeah.
So, I mean, I know Chuck's number. So now, and I told it to you off air. So now you just throw that up the promotion.
We will. We have a meeting with him next week.
Now-
If
now you
that's
know.
the number,
That's the number.
What's the Tim Kennedy number?
I mean, so I got like $500,000 to come in there. But when I left the last time, when I got scuffed up by Kevin Gesslem, and I was like, man, I don't want to get hit in the face for money again. And just like I don't want to eat a breach charge because I need to put food on my table, I want to throw a flashbang or a frag grenade or eat a breach charge because it's the right thing to do. If I'm going to take sacrifices and I'm going to do work, it's like for school. It's for the right reasons. And so like I don't know if going out and doing a bare knuckle fight is in the right reason category. Could I do something, if they throw me the Chuck Liddell type numbers to go out there and I could do a lot with that kind of money. I could open.
That's a lot of schools.
Yeah. And by the way, that's why I ask.
Yeah.
Because is there a dollar amount where you're like, you know what, if I'm going to give this to kids and do it, I'll get back in there and either fuck somebody up or get fucked up.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm not going to get fucked up. I don't know what that came from.
look, Tim,
Look,
the last fight,
look, Ross.
we discussed it.
Yeah, that was a minute ago.
You got but that was unfair because we were in New York actually. I don't even know if you remember this, but we were at the McGregor fight. You were supposed to be on that card.
Yeah, I was supposed to fight Rashad.
In 2016, and then what happened? Was it PEDs or did you have an injury or something?
Yeah, both. He won't get cleared. I don't think he wanted to fight. And Madison Square Gardens, New York at New Year's Eve card, and cutting weight for that was hard. First of all, it was bad cut.
Yeah.
To fight Rashad, and it was as soon as my plane landed and my phone started blowing up. You know how it is when like you're at altitude and kind of pre-Delta Wi-Fi, and the plane landed and Joe Silva's like, "Hey, fight's off," and I was like, and my phone's just like blowing up from Twitter and from other my coaches that were already on the ground, and I was like, I'm sorry, what? So Rashad was off, and then I fought Gesslem a few weeks later, and I had to cut again, and body was just a wreck, absolute mess, and he beats me up. But
And that's why I can't quantify that as a loss. Like, because we saw you, and we were there with you at Madison Square Garden, as you were walking around, and you were seeing the excitement and everything else, and you're like, God damn it, I wish I was in here.
Nobody would have beat me that night.
That's what I felt like too. And then you had to cut weight again, and you got screwed out of that.
Well, 2 weeks ago, we talked to Anik about all this stuff, about how the UFC or fans of the UFC or maybe commentators or whomever put way too much emphasis on losses. Like if a football team goes, there's a 17-game season now. If they go like 12-5 this year, that's considered a good season. They still lost 5 games.
Yeah.
Like, who gives a shit?
Yeah.
Why do we put such an emphasis on the loss? Anybody can beat anybody on any given day, right? You
Especially
come in
at that
tuned
top-
up like that,
that
you
top
probably
level.
Yeah, you could have beat anybody that day. It would have mattered who they put in the ring. You would have whooped their ass. Yeah. Sometimes it's just like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And people run into the buzzsaw sometimes, like, oh shit, I didn't see that coming.
And
It
I think that's why we all want to see you fight again, just one more time, in whatever format it is.
Yeah.
But like bare knuckle boxing in particular, was, God damn it, it's 2-minute rounds.
It's fun.
It's fun,
Russian
and there's
slap
nowhere
up.
to go.
I actually like longer rounds.
Really?
Yeah. I love like 10, 20, 30-minute rounds.
Oof.
I love the 10-minute rounds. My dad and I driving down here, Chuck cornered me in 3 fights, and we were talking through what it was like to have Chuck in my corner. I fought Jason Mayhem Miller, Ryan Narte in one night, and it was pride rules. So you could kick to down opponent, you could knee to the head of a down opponent. I think you could even headbutt on this card. So I was like in heaven. Like, these are like my favorite rules ever. I'm like, okay, don't eye gouge, don't kick him in the dick, and that's it.
That's it.
So this is amazing. And so I scuff up the first 2 dudes, and I get cut by a glove because we didn't tape our gloves back then.
Sure.
And you wouldn't even wrap your hands. So I just put my hands inside of, my meat hooks inside of these leather gloves. And I get Jason Mayhem Miller slices me with a punch. Just the friction of the seam of the glove. And I win this fight. I still have one more fight to do to be the ECC middleweight champion in this 8-man tournament. And Chuck whisks me away. Matt Hughes is the ref. He's the champion at the time, and he's the ref of the fights. And he sticks me in a broom closet, and there's like mops, and there's like some
Cleaning supplies, yeah.
And he's like, all right, and he hands me a chunk of metal that he got in an ice bucket, and he's like, press that against your eye. Don't come out of here until I come and get you, because the doctors were trying to find me to look at my cut. And so he was like going around, and he comes, he like opens the door. He's like, all right, come on. And we walk out, and we start my fight. And I was so poor when I fought at this card. Chuck paid for my hotel room. When I had to cut weight at the YMCA, he paid cash for me to go and use their sauna. And,
Really?
Yeah. And I was kind of a coattail rider at the pit because I wasn't good enough to be there with that level of guys, because it was really the first mega fight camp. At that time they had maybe 8 guys in the UFC and Pride, and then there was like this 19-year-old that was doing okay in amateurs. So I was just like trying to get in there, and Chuck went, and this was the first fight that he cornered for me, and we just mopped the ground with everybody else's blood. And after he hid me in a Harry Potter broom closet,
I'm not at all surprised by anything about that story. One, Chuck is a good dude.
Amazing
So I'm
guy.
not surprised he would do all that other stuff. But he's also a bit of a fucking shyster, so I'm not surprised that he hid you in a broom closet either.
You guys have the same hands, by the way.
I know.
Both
Yeah, just
huge
big
fucking
mitts,
mitts, where it's like, it's such a difference in real life where you're like, man.
He's hiding his hands.
No, shit. Who gives a shit? Like, you're Tim Kennedy. Everybody knows. You're fine. You're fine. By the way, I never told you this story, and I wanted to next time you were on. In 2014, when Jared had reached out to me about Range 15 and writing the scripts and everything else, I went to his house in El Paso, and we were writing the scripts for like a week straight. And then on Saturday nights, he goes, hey, we're all going on base to watch this guy fight. The guy was Tim Kennedy. It was you. So I was like, what's the background or whatever? And he's like, dude, he's one of us. He's military. Like, everybody's here from. It was a wing place on a base in El Paso, Texas. People were going ballistic. The guy was sitting on a chair, and it appeared as if you won the fight, and everybody's screaming. Do you know the fight that I'm talking? You have to know the fight that I'm talking about,
That
right?
would have been 2015, right?
Either 2014 or 2015, but the guy wouldn't get off the stool, and then the ref kept coming over.
It was Yoel Romero.
Okay. Tell me what happened in that, because we were all confused and there wasn't any volume in the thing.
too.
And we were all screaming our faces off. But everybody said later on that that could have changed your life as far as the way you would have risen in the rankings.
So Michael Bisping at that time, here, remember we talked about time and context being important. Michael Bisping was the current UFC champion. His last loss was me just beating the ever-loving shit out of him for 25 minutes.
After he had talked a considerable amount of trash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And being a dirtbag.
Yeah.
So, like, even though I respect him as a fighter, like, as a person, we never really meshed well. And so he's the champion. I'm on this big win streak. I just came from Strikeforce. My last loss was for the title. I come and I win. I beat Hodger Gracie, beat him up on the ground, arguably the best grappler on the planet. I destroy him in a grappling fight on the ground in my UFC debut. Then I win, and then I go to fight Yoel Romero. And Yoel Romero was number 2, and I was number 3 ranked in the world. And Michael Bisping's the champion. If I beat Yoel Romero, I'm fighting for the world title. I'm on a win streak. I'm fighting the number 2 contender. And
who's a guy you've beaten relatively recently.
Yeah. And Yoel's a monster at this moment. He hasn't faced opposition in the UFC. And we have a competitive first round, and then the second round, I start pouring it on. And I start hurting him, and I start landing punches. And then I land a series of big punches that put him out at 4:59. And John McCarthy comes and grabs and pulls me off. So I'm celebrating that I just won. And I find out that he got saved by the bell. So they put him on the stool, and I'm like, all right, here we go. I'm gonna fucking murder this guy.
Yeah.
I'm just chomping at the bit. With that same kind of like singular focus where Manson and every single serial killer from history's past comes in and stands there with machetes and blowtorches. And I'm like, I get to murder all of them, and then I get to destroy you. Well, like, that was the focus.
Right.
And so the bell starts, and I walk out to the center of the ring like, fuck to the here we go.
Yep.
And I'm punching my ticket to the UFC title. I'm a middleweight champion. I'm gonna just I'm already thinking, salivating at the mouth about how to destroy Michael Bisping and how many different ways I'm gonna do it. And I have one thing stand in my way: is Yoel Romero. Bell sounds. I'm there, and John McCarthy's like, no, go back. So I'm like, this is odd. I've been fighting for 15 years. I'm not seeing this before. So I go back. The way that the rules read in the Nevada Athletic Commission is at 10 seconds after the bell, if somebody doesn't answer the bell, that's the end of the fight. So 10 seconds passes, and I'm like, all right. So I walk back out there, and John McCarthy's like, no, go back. So I go back, and I'm like, that's it, boys. Party's here.
Yeah.
Mouthpiece come out. I point at Dana White. I'm like, bitch, you're going to have to pay me. I just knocked out your number 2 dude on the planet, and I'm the next UFC champion. Michael Bisping's mine. I already want his name tattooed and a line through his, crossed through my chest. I would not put Michael Bisping's name on my chest. Probably. This is a metaphor. And about 30 seconds later, John tells me to come back and fight. And I'm just like, gone. And
anybody that's been in combat will understand what he's talking about.
Adrenaline dumps.
There's something called a lull, right? Combat lull. And your adrenaline spikes, and then there's a fucking break in the shooting for a while. Maybe it's fucking 5 minutes, maybe it's 3 hours.
Then people die.
But you feel like you're fucking, you can't, it's almost like you're paralyzed. You're just you get depressed, you can't move, it sucks.
Yeah.
Not a great time to be fighting.
No, and it was one of those moments where everyone was booing, screaming, throwing shit.
So they currently call it Stoolgate to this day, and arguably it's like the biggest mess up of the UFC procedures.
Because it would have changed the whole you probably would have been champion.
My next fight's Michael Bisping.
Yeah.
Who here thinks that Michael Bisping had a chance at any point in fighting me?
Yeah.
Well, there's evidence to the contrary.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It was one of those moments, though, where there was no volume. It was so loud in there. And I never got to hear it from you personally. I was just in a restaurant full of 1,000 people going nuts. And I was like, man, I wonder what you thought of that. And if you ever think back to that moment of like, fuck, I could have been champion. And how differently your life would have been. Yeah,
this is like I have to be intentional in like a Jocko Willink extreme ownership way, where everything that happened in there was my fault. Like, he was hurt. I should have just stayed present. I should have just looked at him with that same focus. And when he finally did get off that stool 45 seconds later, or whatever it was, at 38 seconds, you know, they put too much Vaseline on. They spilled the bucket. They used every cheat trick.
Every trick in the book, yeah.
You know, and John McCarthy got played, and he was doing the language thing where he's like, I'm a communist Cuban. I don't really know how to speak. And right now, Yoel's fighting for Cuba's freedom. So I'm like, hey, bro, you cheated, but we got you. Keep doing your thing. So I'm just going to say, like, that was my fault. I should have just stayed there. I should have stayed in that moment. I should have gone out there and tore his face off and punched my ticket to the UFC title. And I regret not being better here, you know.
Yeah. Was your father there at that match?
No, he wasn't allowed to go to my fights.
Really?
Yeah.
Why not? Is that your call or his?
That's my call.
He's getting ready to grab the microphone and the camera. Give him the microphone and the camera.
Yeah, this is it. Thanks for bringing up a point of contention between us for the past 20 years. Go on, Dad.
Go ahead. Yeah. What was your thought of that night, and why weren't you allowed to go see his fights? Was that his choice or yours?
That was his.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah, he's working, and I'm not allowed to go to work. His work. And
Yeah, did I go there and steal coke from Pablo Escobar when my dad was working?
Well, you did. You did.
Yeah, I got
you
a
did.
license plate number.
Yeah.
Well, he lost the fight, and I was present. Family was present.
Okay.
And so family got blamed for his loss. So it.
And then I went on from that point on to not lose a fight for 10 years.
Yeah.
So you made the right call.
Yeah, but I went nuts at home. I mean, my wife would be in the kitchen. I'd be in front of the TV telling everyone else in the room to shut up. But yeah, that's a different story.
Yeah, because you always wonder, right? The Olympics are on right now, and they're cutting back and forth between families in the United States, obviously due to COVID and everything else. But there is families that stay behind for one reason or another. You always wonder with a world championship athlete what it is, and so it was definitely Tim.
Yes.
Did you see that 17-year-old girl win the breaststroke 100 this morning?
Oh, yeah.
Did you see the video of her high school? So they filled the gymnasium up with everybody from her high school.
Yeah.
And they went, chairs were flying. I was like, you could only see like granulated video, but there were like chairs flying through the air. There were like kids flipping. I was like, did that kid just like jump? Or did somebody launch that child into the air? It was so awesome. I'm actually in the middle of, I was writing a post, now I'm going to post as soon as we get off this, of all of the American athletes. We're talking so much about people turning their back on the flag and people like, taking the, like, Mike, why aren't we talking about like the lieutenant that just won a gold and she's standing
shooting,
at shooting, and like this beautiful 17-year-old teenager that's draping herself in the American flag. And I went and I just started searching, and you like on Google Chrome, when you look at one photo, they find other photos that are similar.
Yeah.
So I just like started doing that with photo after photo to find all the Tokyo Olympians that are just oozing with American pride. And I was like, let's focus on how they're doing it, and let's not worry about the bad. Let's just focus on the good. And there were hundreds and hundreds of these athletes that are just like the beautiful thing that is the American competitive spirit, and every single one of them embody it. And I was like, yes. Yeah, I might be mad at the Olympics for other stuff, but these guys are crushing it. It's our girls.
It is great.
Yeah.
It's so. Speaking of that, we were in Vegas for the opening weekend of Big Three, the basketball thing. One of the people we interviewed was Lisa Leslie, right? Her husband is an former Air Force pilot, so on and so forth. We were just talking. She's like the Kobe Bryant of female basketball, right? So like, what's the proudest moment of your life? And she said it was representing her country, which is not a very popular point of view from basketball, I guess, these days.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was interesting to hear that, right, from a person of that level of greatness. That's maybe that affords you the ability to tell people to go fuck themselves a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, who's going to challenge Lisa Leslie?
Yeah, no one. And that's why I get caught up in the magic of the Olympics every night, where there is that possibility that you're going to see that exact moment that you were describing, and it's going to change someone's life. And somebody like you obviously knows the work ethic and the sacrifice that you have to just for that one moment. Yeah. And if you fuck it up, it's like Simone Biles today, where it's just like, oh, great. What's wrong with her? What happened? Everything else, mental health.
What's wrong with her is she's got a fucking a wheelbarrow full of gold medals at home. Just relax, everybody. Jesus Christ, you can't do it forever. Just relax.
Yeah. But there is that possibility that it's going to be that like the swimmer the other night was going against Ledecky, the Australian coach, who just I don't know why he was dry humping the thing after.
I loved it.
So do I.
I was freaking out. I was like, I don't know who that guy is, but that is.
But I love him.
I want that as my coach. I want that amount of emotion and commitment and passion.
Yeah.
And pride in my success and my failure. Because had it been a loss, it would have been tears and like absolute deflating of that person's soul, that coach's soul. Like he was so connected.
Yeah.
Oh, God, it's gorgeous.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
I want to see Pete Weber as a coach of something in the Olympics.
PDW, greatest athlete of all time, the bowler.
Whoever you think you are.
I am. Best line in sports history. In sports
I don't know
history.
what it means, but it means something. For sure.
Powerful.
Yeah.
Now is the point in the show we get to the Drinkin' Bro of the week, which is someone who has inspired you or helped you become the person you are today. Now, Tim has been on the show numerous times, so we're going to give it to you and let you give that away today. So who is somebody that has helped or inspired you become the person you are, or maybe helps you want to open up a school?
You know, it's a great question. I mean, probably a lot of people get on here and say their mom, but honestly, that's it for me. You know, she is the person that I can call about anything. She's my biggest cheerleader. If she was into dry humping, she totally would have done that at like every sporting event of mine as a kid. You know, my dad and my mom showed up for me at every sporting event, at every game, whenever I tried something new. And that's who you need, right? Someone in your corner that says, wow, go get it. You can do this.
Yeah.
So, and whether it was, you know, sports or education or a career or having kids or getting married, you know, they were always, you got this.
That's awesome.
My dad, that's my number one. My dad says to me all the time, you got this.
Well,
I never worry about you.
That's awesome. Since Tim's dad is here,
Yeah.
and you got to choose, Tim, mom or dad. Who was it? Who was it?
They were the perfect balance of the
Very diplomatic.
Yin and yang. You know, like tearing my dad's heart out, telling him not to go to my fights, and then, you know, my mom being probably the most violent out of all of us. You know, but she's a piano teacher, marriage counseling, church elder, and then there's like, yeah. So the contrast and the balance is there.
That's hilarious. Yeah. Last question for you, Tim. Where are you at on the book? I know you guys are doing a biography about your life. I am amped for this to come out because there is so many stories that nobody knows about your life that would shock and awe their minds. I can't wait for your book to come out. Where are you guys at in the stages of that?
Nick and I think we're about 60% solution. We are now getting our chapters back from the publisher and Simon Schuster, and they have so few notes. We're killing it.
Yeah.
And so I think we're 6 chapters through. You know, we have 4 or 5 more to go.
Yeah.
But and then it's like,
It's got to go to the DOD.
yeah.
DOD is the issue.
Oof.
Yeah. But it's not because I'm old. Like a lot of those.
Well, Matt had issues with the DOD.
18 months. Yeah, that
But
was
the content of his book wasn't necessarily a recruitment tool. I mean, at least according to them, I think it was.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, and like, you know, we said this on the last show too, and I'll follow up on that as well because there was some people in the Special Forces community had gotten on you for posting on Instagram, being very vocal on social media about everything you're doing. So, oh, he's ruining everything else. There's a bunch of higher ups that hit up Dan and I when because we'd leave the studio open, they come in all the time. They were like, man, if you see Tim Kennedy, tell him, dude, he's probably the biggest fucking recruiting tool we have. And if it weren't for him and his social media and posting all this stuff.
yeah, the SEAC told us that.
Yes.
The senior listed person in the entire military told us that you're a recruitment tool.
Live on air.
Pretty sure that makes it true.
Yes. Yeah.
I was with the chief of SOCOM, so the CSM, they now call chiefs when they were a CCSM. And, you know, it was the same. It's like, I know I'm not perfect, and I try to toe the line, and I try to be supportive of everything that we do as a regiment, but I'm also going to be, like, I can't change who I am, and I can't change the perspectives or beliefs that I have, and I'm going to be vocal about those things. And like, if I get a little bit of hate from some very outspoken guys, it's I think they just don't understand what I'm trying to do and see the bigger picture. And yeah, go talk to Troxel or go talk to the chief from SOCOM, like, or my colonel boss right now that is supportive in every way. So
yeah, they were on the show, and I just wanted to give you a heads up for that because, dude,
nothing hurts worse than my colleagues attacking.
I can imagine.
Well,
and
here's some.
just know that the highest people are like, dude, Tim is doing the right thing.
Also, this person in the chat, Lily Bloxham, apparently is joining the military because of you. So that's a good.
Lily, go make the green grass grow. You hear me?
It's blood that does that. By
That
the
is
way.
blood. Blood makes the green grass grow.
Tell everybody where they can find your school and help out.
Absolutely. So you can find us on www.apogeecedarpark.com. On there, you'll find lots of information about the school, how you can apply, how you can donate, how you can be a part of what we're doing, how you can have a career with us. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Our 3 guides.
Our 3 guides?
Yeah.
You want to me to talk about them?
Just name drop because they're so freaking rad.
Oh, they're amazing.
Just like 2 sentences about each of them. They're like,
Kayla Wagner.
Oh my God.
Right. So Kayla has been involved in private and public school for a long time. You can tell she loves what she does. She's a solo wilderness certified survivalist, loves to be outdoors. Ashley Cartwright, she's got several businesses. She's got 4 kids of her own.
She's jacked.
Jacked. Yeah, she'll be a part of your 4 Pillars program.
Yeah.
We've got Alan Perez. He's bilingual Spanish and Italian. Background in psychology, rookie teacher of the year. I mean, we had hundreds and hundreds of applicants. It's very exciting.
And one would have to
post, like, the
imagine,
best.
Yeah, one would have to imagine like there's so many teachers that are fed up with what's going on at traditional schools that they're probably hitting you up being like, hey, can I come and teach here? Because this sounds like it would be challenging and exciting.
They don't get into it for the money.
No one gets into education for the money.
Unless you're out of your mind. Well, people at the top level do. The administrative costs have gone up 2,000% over the last 25 years, while teacher salaries have gone up about 27%. So off the soapbox there. Anyways, no reasonable person gets into education for the money. They get into it because they care about teaching kids.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
And they're frustrated. They're frustrated that the way that they want to teach or what they feel like is important isn't allowed, you know? And they're teaching to the test all the time. So it's really exciting to see that people are already doing this, and now we're just giving them a place to come in.
Well, look, I think it's amazing. I think we need more schools like this in the U.S., and it's great what you're doing because it's an uphill climb that I'm sure no one but the 2 of you guys know what's going on behind the scenes, and it is, I'm sure, ruthless every single day. And I don't know how stress level-wise you guys get through it, because I'm sure there is about 80 calls every single day behind the scenes for lawyers and everything else.
Yeah. We're like 5 weeks out, and stress is kind of 6 weeks out.
6 weeks out.
Tim's like Captain America ripping logs in half out in front of his house to relieve stress and shit. I get it.
No, I understand. The school system's brutal, my man. You guys are doing God's work. We appreciate you being here. I always say every time Tim Kennedy is on the show, we are better humans for getting to sit and chat with him for his small amount of time. And look, we've offered to back up the truck for Tim to have his own show on the network. He's a busy fucking dude. When you're retired, have an open chair on any single set in here, and your father is a wonderful man. It was
Can
a
I say
pleasure
one
meeting
thing
him
before we
today.
leave, Russ?
Absolutely.
Tim, you want to come back and talk some MMA ever? Talk about cutting weight, talking about the bath, talking about all the advances we're having in the sport?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Oh, I would
Come
love
do
that.
a show with Chuck.
Yeah.
Chuck will do a massive event. What's the next biggest card coming up?
There's a bunch of things. The
Lewis.
Uriah Hall's next.
Well, end of September, there's that fight.
Houston.
Yeah.
The one, the
Derek Lewis is fighting in Houston, I think, in 2 weeks.
Cyril Gane, yep.
Yeah.
Well, I'm talking about the one that Nate Diaz is fighting on. Who is he fighting? I can't remember.
Oh,
You mean
might-
Nick?
Yeah.
Nick's fighting
Robbie Lawler.
Robbie Lawler.
Yeah, Nick's fighting Robbie Lawler, and then the headline of that is Volkanovski fighting for the title, right?
Tim, just out of curiosity, when was the last time Nick fought?
Nick Palmisano?
No, Nick Diaz.
Nick Diaz. Oh, it's been a long time.
2013.
2013, right?
Yeah.
Just saying, you could get back in there.
Tim,
That's all I'm saying.
I mean, he's fighting Robbie Lawler, and that was a bloodbath. You want to watch a bloodbath? Watch Robbie Lawler and I.
Good Lord.
When I said that, by the way, your dad put his headphones back on as if he wants you to get back in there. He wants you back in. Let Dad come and see one more match.
We're going to sneak his dad into the fight without Tim knowing.
Oh, man.
Let Dad see one more fight in person. That's all he wants. That's all he wants.
It was not only did he fight Robbie Lawler, but in his amateur time, he did a pancrase with the Diaz brothers.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Really?
I did not see that. Is that videotaped anywhere?
That's way.
Wow. Let him back in. Hashtag let Tim Kennedy back in the UFC.
Well, I don't think anybody's stopping him, except for his own goddamn schedule.
Yeah.
Would you do some grappling still, Tim?
Yeah.
Just no striking.
Yeah. I just got back to rolling yesterday. It was the first time that I did a live roll since surgery, which was 10 weeks ago. And so, yeah, I think I'll be competition ready in maybe another 2 weeks.
So for everyone out there listening, you have missed your opportunity to get Tim while he's hurt. He is now back and ready for action.
Yes. yes.
We're going to start a website that monitors Tim's health. And when it gets below a certain level, there's just going to be people attacking him in public.
Dude, it's like in rehab, like my deadlift got better, my row time got better, my ski time got better, like my 500 calorie race on the Airdyne got better. Like the only thing I can do is grapple and run. And so
it's because you give your body a break. Then you rebuild from scratch with those stabilizer muscles.
Yeah, smart. And then you're going to throw it all away and jump out of a plane tomorrow.
We actually talked to John Briggs
2 days
about
from
this.
now,
With the
we'll see.
Tommy John surgery that pitchers get, they think that the prevailing wisdom used to be that, it's making them throw harder than, no, it's repairing all of the 20 years of damage they've done.
Yeah.
Take some time off. I've been taking time off since, November of 2018. I feel great.
Yeah, you look great. I tried to force you into a workout before I come on here.
No.
Did you know that, Ross?
Oh, yeah.
I told
I was
him.
like,
Yeah.
hey, I'll come on, but.
Yeah. And he was like, dude, I haven't worked out in 4 years.
That's why I
I'm
had
not
to
starting
sacrifice.
now.
I said that, and he was like, well, now's a good time to start. I'm like,
Lamb to the slaughter.
I'm like, let me do this. I'll give you Giorgio. You do whatever you want to him.
Thicker Giorgio. I like it.
I know.
Oh, man.
I
Love
know.
you guys.
The two Cs.
Thanks for being on. Check out Apogee cedarpark.com so you can find out about the school and not only how to donate as well. There's also a donate button on there. Tim, thank you guys so much for being here today.
Love you guys.
We
Don't change.
greatly appreciate it. We know you're a busy man, and good luck with the school.
Yeah, thanks, sir.
For D'Anthony Hollaway, I'm Ross Patterson. This is the Drinkin' Bros podcast. Good.